Wehrmacht planners were convinced that the Red Army would attack again in the south, where the front was 80 kilometers from Lviv and offered the most direct route to Berlin. Accordingly, they stripped troops from Army Group Center, whose front still protruded deep into the Soviet Union. The Germans had transferred some units to France to counter the invasion of Normandy 2 weeks before. The Belorussian Offensive, codenamed Operation Bagration, which was agreed upon by allies at the Tehran Conference in December 1943 and launched on June 22, 1944, was a massive Soviet attack. Consisting of 4 Soviet army groups totaling over 120 divisions that smashed into a thinly held German line. They focused their massive attacks on Army Group Center, not Army Group North Ukraine as the Germans had originally expected. More than 2.3 million Soviet troops went into action against German Army Group Center, which had a strength of fewer than 800,000 men. At the points of attack, the numerical and quality advantages of the Soviet forces were overwhelming. The Red Army achieved a ratio of 10-to-1 in tanks and 7-to-1 in aircraft over their enemy. The Germans crumbled. The capital of Belarus, Minsk, was taken on July 3rd, trapping some 100,000 Germans. Ten days later, the Red Army reached the pre-war Polish border. Bagration was, by any measure, one of the largest single operations of the war. By the end of August 1944, it had cost the Germans 400,000 dead, wounded, missing and sick, from whom 160,000 were captured, as well as 2,000 tanks and 57,000 other vehicles. In the operation, the Red Army lost 180,000 dead and missing, 765,815 in total, including wounded and sick plus 5,073 Poles, as well as 2,957 tanks and assault guns. The offensive at Estonia claimed another 480,000 Soviet soldiers, 100,000 of them classed as dead. The neighboring Lviv, Sandomir's operation was launched on July 17, 1944, with the Red Army routing the German forces in western Ukraine and retaking Lviv. The Soviet advance in the south continued into Romania and, following a coup against the Axis-allied government of Romania on August 23rd, the Red Army occupied Bucharest on August 31st. Romania and the Soviet Union signed an armistice on September 12th. The rapid progress of Operation Bagration threatened to cut off and isolate the German units of Army Group North bitterly resisting the Soviet advance towards Tallinn. Despite a ferocious attack at the Sinimäed Hills, Estonia, the Soviet Leningrad front failed to break through the defense of the smaller, well-fortified army detachment, Narwa, in terrain not suitable for large-scale operations. On the Karelian Isthmus, the Red Army launched a Vyborg, Petrozavodsk offensive against the Finnish lines on June 9, 1944, coordinated with the Western Allied invasion of Normandy. 3 armies were pitted there against the Finns, among them several experienced Guards rifle formations. The attack breached the Finnish front line of defense in Valkeasaari on June 10th, and the Finnish forces retreated to their secondary defense line, the VT line. The Soviet attack was supported by a heavy artillery barrage, air bombardments, and armored forces. The VT line was breached on June 14th, and after a failed counterattack in Kuderselka by the Finnish Armored Division, the Finnish defense had to be pulled back to the VKT line. After heavy fighting in the battles of Talihantala and Ilomantsi, Finnish troops finally managed to halt the Soviet attack. In Poland, as the Red Army approached, the Polish Home Army launched Operation Tempest. During the Warsaw Uprising, the Red Army were ordered to halt at the Vistula River. Whether Stalin was unable or unwilling to come to the aid of the Polish resistance is disputed. In Slovakia, the Slovak national uprising started as an armed struggle between German Wehrmacht forces and rebel Slovak troops between August and October 1944. It was centered at Banska Bystrica. In the autumn of 1944, the Soviets paused their offensive towards Berlin to first gain control over the Balkans. On September 8, 1944, the Red Army began an attack on the Dukla Pass on the Slovak-Polish border. 2 months later, the Soviet forces won the battle and entered Slovakia. The toll was high. 20,000 Red Army soldiers died, plus several thousand Germans, Slovaks, and Czechs. Under the pressure of the Soviet Baltic Offensive, the German Army Group North were withdrawn to fight in the sieges of Saaremaa, Courland, and Memel.